The 5 toughest actresses in Hollywood history. Hollywood's golden age may glitter with beauty and dreams, but behind the sequence and applause lay a brutal business that devoured the weak. The women who didn't just survive but ruled that world were more than stars. They were steel in silk. Today, we uncover 5 actresses who stood toe-to-toe with powerful studios, weathered heartbreak, and rewrote the rules of an industry built to silence them. These weren't women acting tough. They were tough, every single day, in a system that never stopped testing them. And when we reach number 4, prepare to see one of America's sweetest icons in an entirely new light. Her charm concealed an unbreakable will few ever saw coming. These legends didn't just navigate Hollywood's chaos, they bent it to their will and left it permanently transformed. But what does real toughness in Hollywood look like? It's not only about surviving scandals or defying bullies, though these women did both. It's about fearless authenticity, staying true when everyone demands you change. It's the grit to rise again after public humiliation and the courage to challenge an empire built to control you. The women you're about to meet didn't just outlast Hollywood's pressures, they changed it. Their journeys expose the raw truth behind the glamour and the incredible resilience.
Number 1. Bette Davis, the original Hollywood warrior. When people speak of toughness in Hollywood, one name towers above all. Bette Davis, with eyes like blades and a voice that could cut through glass, wasn't acting tough, she was tough. Her reputation as Hollywood's fiercest woman wasn't born on screen, but in her real-life war with the studio system. In 1936, at the height of her fame, Davis did the unthinkable. She sued Warner Brothers, her own studio. In an era when contracts were cages, this move was considered career suicide. But Davis refused to be trapped in mediocrity. She fled to England to find work that matched her talent. Jack Warner struck back hard, suing her in return and using his power to blacklist her overseas. Though she lost the case, Davis proved something more important: she couldn't be controlled. "I survived because I was tougher than they expected and meaner than they deserved," she later said. Warner eventually caved, offering her better roles, realizing she wasn't a starlet to mold, but a force to respect. This wouldn't be her last fight. Davis spent her entire career demanding quality scripts, creative control, and respect in an industry that belittled women. Even during her legendary feud with Joan Crawford on Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Davis fought not just for herself, but for fairness, even confronting producers when she learned Crawford was underpaid. Bette Davis didn't just act like a warrior, she lived it. Though Bette Davis often clashed with others, her real strength lay in how she approached her art. Unlike stars who guarded their image, she embraced roles that made her appear old, harsh, or even insane if the story required it. In a business obsessed with beauty, that raw honesty was a rare kind of bravery. Her fiery commitment was most visible in her work with directors. Davis was infamous for explosive arguments over how scenes should play, not from vanity, but passion for truth in performance. William Wyler, who directed her 3 times, once said working with her felt like riding Niagara Falls in a barrel. Yet he kept coming back because her stubbornness always elevated the film. What made Davis remarkable wasn't just her willingness to fight, it was her ability to rise after every fall. She endured failed marriages, serious illness, and being written off by Hollywood, yet each time she clawed her way back stronger. A cameraman once summed it up perfectly. She didn't act tough, she was tough. In a town built on illusions, her grit was the realest thing around. Now on to Barbara Stanwyck, steel wrapped in silk. If Hollywood had scripted her life, it would have seemed too dramatic to believe. Orphaned at 4 after her mother's tragic death and working by 14, Stanwyck wasn't shaped by hardship, she was forged in it. Unlike many who were discovered for their looks, she forced her way into show business through persistence and grit.
She began as a chorus girl, climbing step by step to speaking roles. By the time she reached Hollywood, she carried a confidence no studio could manufacture. That defiance soon clashed with the system. When executives tried renaming her Barbara Stanfield, she flatly refused. When designers wanted to enhance her figure, she told them to use what's there or find someone else. While others obsessed over glamour, Stanwyck obsessed over the work. She arrived on set knowing everyone's lines, not just her own. She even did her own stunts, riding horses, leaping from heights, bruising herself because she refused to let someone else take the risk. "I wouldn't ask anyone to do what I won't," she said simply. Film crews adored her. Where other actresses threw tantrums, she showed respect. They called her steel wrapped in silk, a nickname that captured her perfectly. By the 1940s, she had built a rare independence, working on her own terms and negotiating her pay directly, something almost no woman in Hollywood could do then. Even in her personal life, Stanwyck's quiet strength showed. When her marriage to Robert Taylor ended, she handled it privately and moved on without scandal or spectacle. As one executive joked, the only thing sharper than her cheekbones was her spine. While Hollywood discarded aging stars, Stanwyck adapted and thrived, shifting to television with the same poise that carried her through decades, a true survivor of the silver screen. Barbara Stanwyck's last major role came with the Colbys in the 1980s when she was nearly 80, an astonishing feat in a business that devoured its own. She didn't just endure Hollywood's cruelty, she conquered it entirely on her own terms. When asked late in life how she felt, her reply was simple and stoic. She was fine, as always. 3. Katharine Hepburn, the Magnificent Rebel. When Katharine Hepburn arrived in Hollywood in 1932, no one knew how to categorize her. With sharp angles, an athletic frame, and that gravel-edged voice critics said sounded like rusty nails, she rejected every rule of feminine beauty. Add to that her trousers, bare face, and open defiance of directors, and it's no wonder theater owners soon branded her box office poison. Most actresses would have yielded, softened, or played nice. Hepburn did the reverse. She doubled down on being herself. After a string of flops in the 1930s, she staged her own comeback. Buying out her contract, she returned to Broadway with the Philadelphia Story. When it became a sensation, she purchased the film rights and sold them to MGM on the condition that she would star and approve her director and co-stars. The move flipped her reputation overnight, turning a pariah into an Oscar favorite. Throughout her career, Hepburn never let the studios mold her. When RKO tried to glamorize her, she ripped holes in her silk stockings. When they mocked her for wearing pants, she stripped down to her underwear and said she'd put them back on when they stopped complaining. Her independence wasn't just professional. Despite a 26-year relationship with Spencer Tracy, she refused marriage, motherhood, or apology. She lived exactly as she wished, a radical choice for her time. Even her approach to publicity was a rebellion. While other stars played the studio game, Hepburn refused interviews, premieres, or autographs. When reporters criticized her aloofness, she shrugged. "I don't care what's written about me, so long as it isn't true." That confidence came with a price. Many called her arrogant or difficult, but she never bent. Her words to one studio boss summed it up. "Take me or leave me, I'll still be here when you're gone." And she was right. The men who tried to control her are long forgotten. Hepburn remains unmatched, holding the record for most Best Actress Oscars. Her real victory wasn't in awards, but in proving that a woman could win without surrendering herself. As one critic said, she walked like a man and talked like she owned the place. And perhaps she did. "I love my work," she once said. "It's about three things: my family, my craft, and my first teacher." 4. Shirley Temple, the iron will behind the dimples. Toughness isn't the first word you'd associate with Shirley Temple's smiling face. The child who sang on the Good Ship Lollipop seemed all sugar and innocence, which makes the truth all the more surprising. Beneath those curls was one of the sharpest, strongest minds to ever work in Hollywood.
While most child stars crumbled under fame, Temple rewrote the script. Her intelligence and self-possession set her apart from the start. At 5, she could memorize 35 pages after one reading and master dance routines adults struggled with. She understood camera angles, lighting, and emotional timing instinctively, not just performing, but shaping the performance itself. Director Alan Dwan said it best, "She wasn't a child actress, she was an actress who happened to be a child." Off camera, she was equally unshakable. When jealous adults tried to steal focus, she calmly adjusted her position to reclaim it. When directors used manipulation, she called them out, politely but firmly. Most extraordinary of all, Shirley Temple preserved her sense of self in a system built to break it. Unlike most child stars of her time, Shirley Temple managed to leave fame behind with her sanity intact. That balance becomes even more striking given what we now know about how ruthless the studio system was. In a revelation from her 2015 autobiography, she recounted how, at just 12, an MGM producer exposed himself during a supposed film meeting. Rather than freeze or stay silent, Temple left the room and told her mother, ensuring she never worked with that man again. This early act of self-protection defined her lifelong strength. Later, when her parents squandered nearly all her earnings, leaving her only $44,000 of the $3.2 million she'd made, she didn't crumble. She rebuilt through sharp investments and business savvy. When her film career faded, Temple didn't cling to the past. She reinvented herself, first as a Republican fundraiser, then as a respected diplomat, serving as U.S. ambassador to Ghana and Czechoslovakia. Her poise and intelligence in foreign service showed the same grit that had carried her through Hollywood. She survived an assassination attempt in Ghana and skillfully handled post-communist politics in Czechoslovakia. At the United Nations, she championed environmental issues long before they became fashionable. Her courage showed again in the 1970s when she faced breast cancer publicly, holding a hospital press conference after her mastectomy, helping to break the stigma around the disease. From child actress to stateswoman, Temple's resilience defied her innocent image. As one diplomat put it, she smiled for the cameras and took names afterward. Her toughness, hidden behind charm, may be her most remarkable legacy. Quiet, precise, and unshakable. Joan Crawford's name still conjures both glamour and horror. The dazzling star of Mildred Pierce and the feared mother of Mommy Dearest. The truth lies somewhere between, anchored by her unmatched tenacity. Born Lucille LeSueur in Texas poverty, Crawford's rise to stardom was driven not by luck, but by relentless effort. Her father disappeared before her birth. Her stepfather was abusive. By 12, she was cleaning houses just to afford school. The hardship bred both obsession and ambition. She danced until her feet bled, then wrapped them and kept going. At MGM, she applied the same discipline to mastering her look, lighting, and camera presence, crafting herself into a star through sheer will. Unlike silent-era actors, Crawford adapted to talkies with exhaustive voice lessons. When her flapper image faded, she reinvented herself again as a dramatic powerhouse. Declared box office poison at 38, she stormed back 2 years later with an Oscar for Mildred Pierce. Her work ethic bordered on obsession, rising at 4 a.m., enforcing strict diets, and keeping her home spotless to a military degree. The perfectionism stemmed from terror of poverty and failure, fueling her ferocity on and off set. She demanded respect from directors and fought hard for better pay, earning a reputation for being difficult. As one director said, "She wasn't hard if you were ready, only if you weren't." Even her rivalries were strategic. During Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Crawford weighted her costume so Bette Davis would struggle to drag her, ensuring the scene favored her presence. Crawford adopted 5 children alone, ran her home with iron discipline, and refused to age quietly. She maintained her beauty regimen into her 50s, starring opposite much younger men and defying Hollywood's double standards. When told she was too old for a role, she didn't argue. She proved them wrong. One director summed it up best. She didn't chew scenery, she chewed people. Harsh words, but fitting for a woman who fought her way from nothing to immortality.